Hey everyone, this is Professor DiMaggio's Gaming. So today I'm going to be talking about how to run an effective offense. We'll be looking at a few rounds from individual matches, looking into details of how to do that in successful cases where I was able to run the table against a player. Okay, so my commentary today is going through how to play effective offense with Rashid in terms of Oki and different strategies for running the table on an opponent. One thing that's really important to point out here is that just because if you're able to play effective offense doesn't mean you should be one-dimensionally offensive in the way you play, even if you have a rushdown character like Rashid. So I think it's important not to just be one-dimensionally aggressive, and there's a number of reasons for this. If you're a one-dimensional player, it means that people know what's coming. That's really the most important point, and it makes you more susceptible to things if you're being super aggressive all the time, like wake up EX moves, wake up supers, and just in general, playing against another person who is also strongly offensive in their skill set, because if you don't know how to play defense in those cases, you're going to be in trouble when they go on the offensive. So the idea here is that, being able to play effective rushdown is one skill among many that you should be able to have as a player at the master level. Your skill should also include the ability to slow your game down, to play footsies, to play in the neutral, to whiff punish, and to play effective defense too. So just in general, in terms of like the approach here, the tactical approach for how to be successful here with rushdown, it's really a question of being able to make the transitions between your combos seamless. And that has to do with the ability to not only know what your meaties are, but actually have labbed situations out enough that you can do these things in your sleep. Why is it important to be able to play rushdown in addition to other types of styles? Because it keeps your opponent guessing. If you have the ability to switch up between different play styles, they don't know what's coming, and that makes you more dangerous. So, it helps you in the case of people who like to get in your face, as I talked about in my last video, my last commentary, and they like to just sort of push individual buttons and try to bait you into making mistakes. You can sort of get past that entire play style, which I call bulldog turtling, by being more aggressive and having the ability to do rushdown. Rushdown also helps you with other aggressive players who maybe don't have the defensive skills they need. If you can take it to them on offense, then that helps to be able to do that too. So yeah, there's a lot of different reasons why rushdown is valuable, and I'm going to sort of go through some examples of that with Rashid here. So when I mentioned seamless transitions, I mean you want to constantly have pressure on someone, so you're not going to be able to run effective offense without knowing the Oki for your character, sure, but that includes keeping them guessing with regards to the type of offense you're playing. When we talk about Oki and we talk about meaties, this is important. You want to be mixing up the different types of transitions with regards to meaties. You want to be taking advantage of your overheads, your low hits. You want to have all of the tools on the table. You want to be able to take advantage of things like meaty DI, which gives your opponent less time to recognize that the DI is coming if you bake it into meaties that you're doing on offense. You want to be taking advantage of drive rush, because if you don't have the plus frames needed to connect on combos and to set up some of these meaties. And taking advantage of your throws too. So basically, in order to do this, you have to sort of know your character and be able to run an offense in your sleep. And that means developing muscle memory and going into the lab and really working on not just like doing a combo, not just on doing a meaty, but what would it look like to do an entire round where you're just going through your offense and running the table on somebody. What would that actually look like? So we're going to look at a couple rounds here from individual opponents where I was able to effectively do that, and I'll give you some more commentary on that too. Okay, so this first match is against a Ken. We're going to go through sort of step by step what I was able to do here. You'll notice to start out, I mentioned being able to take advantage of overheads and lows. So one of the first things I like to do in a lot of these matches is a dry rush crouching light kick. As I've mentioned before in these videos, it's really fast, and it's an easy way to catch somebody off guard, to get a combo string started and to get your meaties going. And one of the things is there's going to be a lot of scaling on these light kick hits that start off combos. So the initial combo that you do with, for example, a drive rush crouching light kick is not going to be the ultimate damage that you're looking for. It's just the way to get you in. And then the next combo after that and the next meaty are the ones, once you've got your offense going, those are going to be the ones where you want to take off the lion's share of damage against your opponent. So the first part of the offense, drive rush, crouching light kick into the target combo, EX Cyclone, take him to the corner, finish with the hard mixer. And then I did drive rush into DI. That actually is meaty. That's been fully labbed out. And you can combine those two together. It's 2 bars. Yeah, it's a little bit to spend, but I don't think I've ever done this and not have it work. If I have, it's been very rare. So people just really don't see it coming in this particular instance because you're doing it right after the heavy mixer. So it does hit meaty. And as you see here, it did actually connect. One other point here, I think that the reason why this works so well, if we're talking about the psychology of this, is that the drive rush into drive impact, when people see the drive rush coming, the first instinct that you think of is that somebody's going to push a button because they want to connect on a combo string. So people are already thinking in their head, I should block. And so what you do by combining the drive rush into the DI, although you spend an extra bar, you surprise people in terms of what's coming. If they block a DI, they're in the corner, they're going to get hit by the DI. So I think that's really important to sort of think about, as you play through and get a sense of how Rashid and other characters work. The psychology of why things work over and over is important, and I think in this case it's pretty clear. This is a pretty effective strategy at continuing your Oki and your offense by using a meaty like this. So we've got the take him to the corner, drive rush, meaty DI, into another combo. So this is an optimal combo here, and this is actually a really important part of how to play effective Rushdown. When you have the ability to get in a combo, especially a free combo after a DI, you want to make sure you take advantage of getting as much damage as possible. So for people who play Rashid, you know that the way to do that here is the medium punch into hard kick combo that continues with the light mixer into the heavy mixer. This is not just doing target combo, because target combo is medium punch, hard kick. You actually stagger it a little bit and you give the slightest amount of space between the 2 buttons when you first push medium punch and then the heavy kick. But between the 4, this is really sort of the largest amount of damage you're going to get off of a drive impact without using additional meter or one of your supers. Now, when I say you want to sort of vary things up, obviously I finished with a heavy mixer here. You're going to want to have a totally different meaty this time around. You're not going to do the same thing twice, because the whole point is that if you can keep the opponent guessing, then it's more likely for you to get the next hit in your series. So what I do here is I do the cartwheel into the throw. That's also meaty. If they do anything here outside of a throw tech, they're going to be in trouble. You're not going to DI out of this, so you could EX DP out of it for sure. But the opponent didn't do that. They were probably blocking. They certainly didn't think to throw tech, and so this continues the Oki for me, the offense. You got another meaty DI here. Now this is a different DI than the last one. The last one was drive rush DI. This is a manually timed DI after throw, and as I've talked about in previous videos, you just have to lead after your throw the tiniest little micro walk, like a split second, and then do the DI, and you're going to hit meaty with that. So obviously this person wasn't expecting that after the throw, and I get in another part of my offense. So I go into hard punch, EX Cyclone, into another heavy mixer, and I didn't want to go further with this combo because I didn't want to burn out. So eventually you run into the limits when you're running a nonstop offense like this of not wanting to go so far that you put yourself at a disadvantage. The round gets finished off by me doing a walk back, as you can see here. I walk back, which actually protects you against an opponent who might try and do an EXDP on wake up or a driver reversal. If you're walking back and you time it right, and they push a button, like for example the EXDP, you already got your finger on the back button on your joypad, or your stick, or whatever you're playing, and so you can block that depending on how you time it. This is all manually timed. In this particular case, I am going to however, manually time it to do a hard heavy punch on wake up. And the reason why that's so good is because a heavy punch takes a long time to start up. And so if you manually time it here, not only do you get the hit, but whether they block or not, you can turn that into a hard, heavy cyclone, and you can roll, and then you can mix it up between jabs and throws. If they block, and if they don't block, you have enough time to hit confirm here, where you can do yet another heavy mixer. So I walk back, I hit him with the manually timed meaty here with the hard, heavy punch. I go into the hard cyclone. Now I can tell by that point that I've connected, right? Because he's in the air. And then instead of doing a jab or throw, you go into the heavy mixer, and that's your perfect round. Okay, so the next round we're going to be looking at is against a Cami. This one is a little different. If you want to run an effective offense, obviously you have to know a lot of different meaties with your character, or you should, because otherwise if you're doing the same meaties over and over, you become predictable. So you'll see that this round looks quite a bit different than the previous one we just watched. So I start with an EX cyclone, which creates automatic pressure, short of the person jumping forward, and in this case, the person decided to block. What's really nice about Rashid is that sometimes you can just choose to skip neutral entirely. So if you do a cartwheel here, you're instantly on the person, and you can do more pressure in this case. If you want to be able to push a button without them hitting you, you need to be doing a jab or a medium punch, basically a really quick startup or a throw. So I go with jab into target combo here, more pressure with the light cyclone, which is actually a frame trap. So if somebody pushes a button after the target combo, they're going to get hit by that as a frame trap. And so as you can see here, they actually kept blocking, but then they tried to push a button after, and I went straight into the overhead. So I mentioned in this series, you want to sort of mix it up. Like there was pressure here with the EX whirlwind shot, and now I'm going for the overhead here, which does connect. You need to be careful not to do this too much in terms of the overhead, as I've talked about in other videos, because there is a space between the light cyclone and the overhead. So if you do this too much and become predictable, people can just jab you out of the transition in between. So you get the target combo after the EX cyclone, you take them to the corner, you finish up with the medium mixer there, as you can see, instead of the hard mixer. What this does in terms of varying up your pressure is it sets up an entirely different meaty than we saw in the last clip, where I go into the heavy mixer and then I've got options there, numerous meaties. But in this case, medium mixer is just different. Like one of the setups after a medium mixer is just doing a heavy cyclone, which is going to hit meaty, and then you can go into, if you push back and kick, a shooting forward motion that allows you to connect with a target combo after and an overhead. So you've got the heavy cyclone, right, that hits meaty, you're blocking, and then you go into the overhead double punch before you do the target combo. And so that's yet another overhead. People usually like to block low in the corner, so keeping them guessing here between highs and lows, as I've shown with these clips, is important. And so once you've connected on the overhead, this is not just a lot of damage for an overhead, but it lets you go directly into more moves like the target combo, the EX cyclone, spending a little bit of bar here. So I go into the EX mixer next, the medium sky high, and the medium punch. Now this is where it gets sort of interesting. I also like to vary it up, as you've seen in these clips, between auto-timed meaties and manually timed meaties. So one way that you can keep people guessing with Rashid is after you finish with the medium punch in the air, when you see them landing on the ground, you jump into the air, jump forward, and by the time you land, if you time this right manually, you can get in a meaty throw here too. And what's so good about this is that people see you jumping forward, they think you're going to throw a kick or push a button or a punch or something, right? And so you do an empty jump into a throw, and this is more of how you keep people guessing in terms of, surprising them and subverting their expectations for what's coming. So you can see here, again, the overhead, the target combo, the EX cyclone, EX mixer, the extra hits, the forward jump, land. That's a meaty throw right there. You can, after the throw, it's pretty well known that one of Rashid's meaties, if you want to run forward, is the crouching medium punch. You can do that into a single jab, which is a little bit safer, but the damage is going to be less. Or you can do the medium cyclone after, which I like to do sometimes too. And I like to do this until somebody proves that they're going to block the medium cyclone and push a quick button. If they show me that they can do that and they know how to punish this, then I won't do it again. But until they show me that they know how to do that, I oftentimes like to go with the medium cyclone after the crouching medium punch because it gives you more options for higher damage corner combos. So I went into the medium cyclone, I went into a jab, drive rush cancel into another jab, target combo, hard cyclone, moving forward into the overhead. So that was an overhead to finish it off. One thing worth pointing out here is that as you finish up with the target combo and as you go into the hard cyclone here and you push back and kick as it shoots you forward, you actually want to finish up with the light sky high, as I do here, because not only does it give you an extra hit in the combo, but it shoots you forward into a setup for the meaty overhead here, as you can see in the end. And what's so good about that sequence is with the meaty overhead here, in this particular case, well, the person was just dead because their life meter is gone. But let's say that they had more life, right? And at the end of this sequence, what you would do is this would set you up for a light punch, which would combo after the overhead hard heavy punch. And so you could, from there, you could either do something meterless like, you know, the overhead heavy punch into the jab into light kick, light eagle spike to finish it off. And that would be a free finisher for your combo. Or if you had meter left, you could go from the overhead heavy punch into the jab into another drive rush, cancel into another jab, and finish up the combo even more. Presumably that would be a good option if they're really low on life and you just needed to finish them off if they still had more life there in that sequence. So either one of those works really well here. So I hope this video was helpful, and I'll just sort of reiterate a couple of points to take from this at the end. Number one, lab when it comes to getting your muscle memory down and your timing for these combos, because a lot of the most dangerous stuff here is going to come from varying up your meaty strings. And if you have the ability to do manually timed combos and meaties in addition to auto-timed ones, it's going to make you that much more dangerous. And in order to effectively do that, it requires the timing. So you really have to go into the lab. Also, as I've mentioned, you don't want to play Rushdown all the time. This is just one tool that you want to have in your toolkit. If you're going into these matches thinking you need to do what you saw in those last 2 rounds all of the time, it's going to actually set you up for quite a bit of failure, because you're just going to run into people at a certain point who know how to shut down a nonstop one-dimensional offense, and they will probably know how to play offense too. So if you don't know how to play defense, you're going to be at a disadvantage. And something like an EX DP or a Wake Up Super can be enough to turn the tide in a round, especially if it's the end of a round and someone has a level 3 saved up and they've got low life. They've got low health and they end up hitting you with it. Like, so the point is, like, yeah, you want to be able to do offense and you want to be able to run an effective Rushdown, but it can't be the only tool in the toolbox. It's one of many, and hopefully this video will help people figure out how to do that with Rashid.